Welcome back, M&M listeners. This is the second part B, that we're talking with Nahid.
Episode 20.
Episode 20. Can I just jump right back in? Because Nahid was telling us about the experience that she has and how, I'm just going to talk to you directly, and how you're observing your kids and how our lives or your life have been different than theirs. I was going to ask if they've ever traveled with you back to Syria and what do they think of the life there and what's their observation?
Yeah, they did, which was, I'm so thankful that they had their time before the war started. So we used to go every year. So they've been at least 6 or 7 times.
Nice.
Because at the end we started going every other year because it got too expensive. But so Adam was 10 when he last went, and he's 23 now. And she was 13 when she last was there. She's 26 now.
Still pretty young.
Yeah, so their memory, they remember every minute of it. They remember Nana's house. They remember the swimming pools. They remember Aleppo really well. We traveled to Latakia, which was the beach town where we would vacation as children. We always made sure that we took them to the Mediterranean. And, I mean, they just got a taste of the mountains, the sea, Aleppo itself. And, they were extremely impacted by the war, by the fact that they can't go back. They haven't seen my family. I mean, they've seen my mom when she came and lived with us for a while during the war, but they haven't seen my brother. They haven't, my son hasn't seen my brother for 13 years.
Oh, wow.
And they were very, very close, and, they got each other, and, they talk on the phone sometimes, but it's just not the same.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, no. It's, yeah.
But yeah, they have really fond memories, and now they're very, I guess, proud, or they feel special that they have a half Syrian.
That privilege.
That's
And my
amazing.
daughter, is mad that we didn't name her an Arabic name, which we were thinking, and when
That's amazing.
she just they identify with both of their German and their Arabic ancestries. But of course, when they were little, they didn't know it was happening.
Yeah. But at least it made them to have a better understanding of
100%.
everything that's...
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Is Aleppo still the same?
It's a very strange place now. Aleppo is a big city. There's like 3 million people live in the city. Yeah, it's a big city. And so my home, and the area where my mom and her family live, our family predominantly, it's actually kind of spared. It was spared.
Oh.
There were random bombs that fell by mistake here and there on the street, but not them necessarily, the house, the building in their area.
They were lucky. Wow.
Yeah, but the old city is the older side of the city, and sort of the suburbs of Aleppo are like completely gone. Like gone.
Yeah.
It's very, very strange to drive around and look where the damage was and what buildings do when they are bombed, and how they almost like bend in half, and to see walls like peel off, and it's a very creepy, it's like you're in
Ghost town.
ghost zombie land. And then but like in 2019 is the first time I went back to visit, and I had to enter Aleppo from a different entrance than I usually would, and it was kind of a damaged area, and the first thing that I saw that just like made my whole body, just everything in my body was like on fire. I looked at this building, and it was pretty bombed, but it wasn't on the ground, and every floor was, there's no windows, there's nothing, but there was one floor that was not bombed for some reason, or it didn't get damaged, or maybe they fixed it a little bit, and the entire building is empty completely. Holes, bullets, whatever happened. And this one couple were sitting on the balcony drinking coffee.
God. Wow.
They're the only couple.
Oh, geez.
Oh, just got a
That was their
goosebump.
home. That's their house. And I think they had nowhere else to go.
Yeah.
And they were just sitting on the balcony, drinking their coffee, just like we would every day.
Wow.
Wow.
In the middle of this ghost, like sort of like a ghost town.
I remember the videos, from like, I think that was just the beginning of drone pictures or video and it was flying, and you see house and buildings and everything is flat and everything is destroyed. And I thought, are they able to rebuild it one day? Is it worth it? Are they going to just rebuild?
I mean, this year, for the past, I've been going every year after COVID, and this year was the first year that I felt like there's like
Starting to.
there may be like, because you have to think like I would think like, are they going to move these rocks? Because everything is built from concrete. Where are they going to put them? Like, where are you going to take? It's like more than 50% of the town is gone.
Wow.
Is on the ground. So there's something changing. What they can fix, they fixed. If it's not on the ground, they fixed it.
Mm-hmm.
But the stuff that's on the ground, it's just not there.
It's just
Wow.
rubble.
Wow. Ooh, okay. Going back to the family therapy.
Yeah, let's talk about this.
It is a very interesting field, and I know that you're one of the greatest in Ventura County.
Oh,
and
goodness.
I heard at least from 2 friends,
Oh,
very, very random, that they were talking about their problems and they came to you.
oh my gosh.
And I was like, oh my God, I know her. Okay. Problems with the marriage and new lifestyle.
Mm.
This is going to be a very challenging issue for the past couples.
Mm.
And the new couples. I want to go back to past, like my generation, because this new generation, it seems like they kind of know what to do, but for our generation that they peeled and they had to shift from a normal lifestyle, like you have a TV, you watch TV, you go to the park, you travel, and then the new lifestyle is everything is on a screen. And then some families, they are interfere with like their, okay, I want to be very specific. This is out of the nowhere. Like, they're exposed to a lot of sexuality and sexual stuff and like porn, and then at the same time they're living together. But how they can manage and how they should manage this is very hard.
Well, it is. I don't like to call it a problem. I think the internet, let's just recognize that the internet in general has changed the family systems, right? With children, with couples, with interaction with their elders, siblings, teachers. It changed society, really. So if I were to address it just in the context of couples and what they're exposed to, I'll separate porn from that conversation because it's
a whole different story.
It's different. Well, it's not a very different story, but it's just like every couple take that issue, the porn issue, and do something with it that belongs to them. Like, there are couples like, I don't care, just watch porn. And there are couples that watch porn together. And there are couples like, if you watch porn, I'm going to divorce you. And there's couples that's what's wrong with you that you watch porn. So like, why are they watching porn, right? So it's just very available. The information is very, very available. But it's, funny enough, like people think like, oh, sex therapy, what are they doing? Open marriages, swingers, lifestyle, BDSM, all of that. It's all information that has maybe become more available and visible, and people are open to explore and have fun or not, and abuse it or use it or be, happy with it or unhappy with it. But the number one problem in all couples issues is communication. So throw in sex, do couples sexually communicate? And then they can do whatever they want. It's their story to deal with and tell. So the exposure to the internet ideas, there's also another aspect besides the porn, Instagram, and sexuality. Unfortunately, sometimes guys get pictures of women and they swear that they didn't sign up to follow these women. These women just show up on their Instagram and they're sexy and they're whatever. And then their wife is like, who is that? Why are you following her? I swear to God, I didn't follow her. It just showed up. Well, then unfollow her. And he's like, well, another woman pops up. And, well, why are you looking at her? And aren't I sexy enough? And it's just become a really, really difficult negotiation for us as therapists to go, well, I don't know what's right or wrong.
Yeah.
I can't tell them what's right or wrong. That's their story, So they refer to us as like, you tell him it's wrong. I'm like, I don't know if he's telling the truth or not. Like, did he really follow that woman on Instagram? Is it okay? I mean, we're being so sexualized too as a society everywhere we look.
Yeah.
On the internet, on Instagram, on whatever, everywhere, YouTube. These kids are being sexualized. Billboards are sexual, TVs sexualized, songs are sexualized. So we can't like bury our head in the sand and go, it's just wrong because it's just the 21st century and this is what's happening in it. I think I wish that we could have a normal conversation, a communication about it. And I think any couple can negotiate or communicate and agree upon something, and then I think the trick is for them to agree on whatever works for them in their relationship. And we find that couples who communicate well, it's a non-conversation. It's like, yeah, whatever. And couples who have a hard time communicating, this becomes an issue, which means they generally don't communicate well.
Oh, wow. Wow.
Isn't that, I believe in general, just the intimacy and sexual relationship between the couples is actually, it can affect the communication, or it can show how they can, it kind of, I cannot explain myself well, but does it, it's one of the most important part of how they create that relationship, right? So the way that they communicate can kind of bleed through the way their intimacy is, and vice versa, right? It does affect right? I don't know if I'm saying
if you're saying if their intimacy and sex life is good, then they get along better and communicate better, and vice versa. I would, I usually caution people to use the word intimacy in the same sentence as, people say intimacy and sex. Just naturally, they say your intimacy and sex.
Two different things.
Well, they're very close, but they're different. I think intimacy is a very important aspect of a relationship more than sex is. Sex can be a mechanical issue. It can be like a human need or a body need. Intimacy is difficult. And it means a lot. Intimacy is, I care about you. I see you. I'm watching you. I'm going to touch your hand. I'm going to rub your back when I feel like you need a back rub. I'm going to always be near you and make you feel like I'm right here, versus sex is sex, right? And I think intimacy can improve communication. Right? When I feel like I'm intimate with my spouse and they're seeing me and they're feeling me, we don't really have to talk much to know that this other person is there with me. And this is important for both genders, as opposed to sometimes we can argue about sex. It's a controversial, like, no, maybe men like it more than women. And that's not true. But it can be, kind of controversially discussed that way. But I think intimacy is important for both people. Like, I just want to be seen by you and be with you. And then we can, of course, we can talk. Then it's easy to talk. And some people are unable to be intimate. It's scary for them to be intimate. And that comes from childhood issues and whatnot. And then that becomes a problem because now we're not intimate, but we're going to have sex. But somehow we're going to also try to communicate and we're not communicating. And that's how that becomes an incongruent issue.
I want to ask you, what are the main problems that it's kind of repetitive with your family therapy, that it's very common to most of the couples, or like,
so for couples specifically, well, communication is big. Actually, most of my sex therapy cases, which I separate from my non-sex therapy cases, are in sex therapy. The most common, and maybe I can call it boring, but it's not really boring, issue that could be like, it's not very excited to talk about this, but is the incongruency of the desire level between two people. And that creates a lot of problems because we, like you were saying earlier, Marcy, like, could they communicate well if they are having sex, if they are intimate? Sometimes when one individual wants more sex than the other, and the other is not willing to compromise or look at why aren't they meeting the other person's needs or arriving to their level, that creates a lot of resentments, and it can kind of wear down the marriage. Because it's like one person is always asking for it and the other person is like, I just don't feel like it. And menopause plays a big role in this, where menopausal women just hormonally are not generally interested. And they say, if I don't have sex for the rest of my life, I'll be good. And I'm like, well, but you're still married and your husband is still sexual and you're only 45 or 50. Sometimes you're young-ish. And we're just going to stop here, So that's a conversation that's really hard to negotiate.
Wow. I don't know if it's the case, but men, mostly they want to have more sex than women. Is that true or not?
Not necessarily. No, not necessarily. That's not true. It's just an individual need. Sometimes it's very complicated. It's actually not simple. And I wouldn't even give a statistics to, like, I don't even know anybody have done a true statistics if this is true or not. But, sex can be helpful to people who have anxiety because it's a good relief of anxiety. Sex can be good, some people's hormonal function is really good. It just depends what's going on in your body and in your life. So it's really hard to say men want it more than women. That's like not true. It's like what's going on in your life and what's going on between the two of you. But there is something that I would say a common thread, that women would like to have more sex if they felt more intimate with their spouses. As opposed to men don't necessarily have to feel intimate for them to want or have sex. But it's difficult for women to engage in sex if they're not feeling close to their spouse or partner. So, be nice to me? Absolutely. Wash the dishes? Absolutely. Give me a massage? For sure. But, just kind of walk in and be grumpy and, no. So it definitely affects women that way.
What is the solution for women that they're going through menopause and they don't feel like they want to have sex anymore?
Well, there's a lot of medical treatments, not necessarily hormonal changes, as in, replacement. There's a lot of solutions. There's pills. There's the pink pill, which is
Oh,
women
for women.
Viagra. There's creams. There's really, there's procedures that you could do. There's actually here an endocrinologist in Camarillo who's doing a really good job with some procedures where, like they can take a blood from the vaginal area, spin it in a machine and re-inject it, just like it's kind of regenerating of cells, just like they do in your knees and they can do in your stomach sometimes.
Wow.
Yeah, regenerating cells that don't work anymore. There's solutions if somebody looked for them. But you have to make an effort, not to just ignore the issue. Yeah.
Correct. Correct.
I think that's the key to, in general, with therapy. I think there are a lot of people who actually don't want a solution. A lot of people are afraid of changing because they're comfortable in whatever state they're in. Even though they're not happy, they might be even miserable, but they know that state. They're familiar with it and they're comfortable with it. And they're not seeking any change, or they're not even accepting or trying to put in the work, right? It's
yeah. I mean, I admire people who see the process through, because it's not an easy process to like look at yourself and go, these are things that I need to change and I need to sit through this pain. And it takes a lot of aspects of things that have to go right for you to be able to change. You have to click with your therapist. You have to find the right theory to work with. You have to, know which issue to address in the first place. And you have to be committed, and time and money and co-pays and insurance. And, it's a really, really big process.
and actually put in the work.
Practicing, like leaving my office and remembering every single thing we said and applying it to every minute of your life. But people do change. Otherwise I wouldn't,
No,
doing what I'm doing.
Yeah, maybe
People
I said
do
my question wrong.
No,
but-
no,
Yeah,
no, but there are a
yeah,
lot of
yeah.
people that are very resistant.
Yeah.
They're and I've had a couple of really individuals that worked really, really hard on, kind of seeing the whole puzzle, of their life. And then they're like, I don't like what I see. I'm just not, I don't like it. This is more depressing than I thought it would be. And I'm not going to change it. I don't like it. I don't even like looking at it. And it's like, oh, wow. It kind of backfires when you're not tolerating, like you don't like your narrative or your story.
Yeah.
Or
Is it more challenging to work with couples? Because I think probably most couples, one of them see the issue and they're trying to solve the problem. They seek out help and they go through a therapist, but the partner doesn't necessarily want to go through that process. So bringing the other one into the process and convincing them to go through that, it's a little bit more challenging, right? Is it easier to work with just individuals, or?
I like working with couples. It's more challenging, and I like to be challenged, I guess. I usually ask that question at the very beginning, and if I feel one person is less invested than the other, and I just kind of sometimes call it off.
Really?
Yeah. I just like, this one person is just working and you're just here going,
Waste of the time.
Yeah, I just like, we're either working or we're not working. Some people come because it's an ultimatum.
Yeah.
Right. But, that's a question that's asked on my part from the very first 5 minutes of the session. Like, what out of 100 are you here? How invested are you and how hard are you going to work? That doesn't mean that they definitely apply it in their life, but at least I'll see the intention.
See how open
Yes.
they are. Yeah.
That's funny because that's a question that actually teenagers usually are asked. Like, did your parents drag you down this hallway? And 90% of them say yes, they did. And those are the ones that are harder to keep than couples.
Do you think that every person should have a therapist in their life, um, especially with everything that is going on, like, everyday news that we're exposed to so many sad and horrifying things every day, like, it's just mass murder, it's like, bombing here, school shooting, and then all of those thing that it's changed, like a Me Too movement, and forcing people to just come out, or changing genders. It's like we're a generation of a lot of changes that it happens so fast. Do we need to have a family therapist or a person to work with?
I think for really intense issues, like, the trans issues, those are really new issues. And the families not understanding what's happening, everybody needs support, right? I mean, it makes me really sad that I believe, this is my observation, that, in the United States, there's really been an epidemic of loneliness. So, I come from a country where, like, the word therapist cannot be translated. There's not a word for a therapist in Arabic. There's a word for social worker. There's a word for the psychologist, but it more insinuates a science, because there's no therapist. And that doesn't mean that they don't need it, right? But, your neighbor is your therapist.
Yeah.
Your community is your therapist. So if you have a good community, if I watch something on TV that upset me, or the news, or something that, a friendship, or something that a relationship that I wanted to run by someone and process, sure. No, you don't need a therapist for every little thing. I'm happy that there has been more openness about mental health after COVID, and, definitely children and teenagers, as well as adults, but teenagers and children definitely struggled. This was really, really hard for them. But now I'm like, does everybody have anxiety and depression? Like, is 100% of the population anxious and depressed? Or has it just become easier for us to say, I'm anxious and depressed, or I'm sad and nervous, right?
Yes.
So, I don't think it hurts to have a therapist, but honestly, then, like, what are you going to do for yourself to overcome difficulty? And if you are nervous to go to a test, you don't need a therapist. That's not anxiety. That's a normal nervousness before you go to a test, as opposed to I'm having panic attacks and I'm debilitated by my anxiety. So, it's kind of on a spectrum. Am I against somebody having a therapist? Absolutely not. But let's give, the heaviness of the issues where they actually belong. And that's important, I think. And many people that I see just literally have no one in the world. And I'm the only person that they talk to, which is really sad.
Wow.
Now, that is really sad.
Wow. That's shocking. I can't believe it, because we kind of have the same culture. And for us, family and friendship,
right, community is
community
really big. Yeah.
is.
And there's more and more research that's saying community, build a community, have friendships. It's kind of hard in the States.
And people
Your
are
siblings
afraid.
are spread out. Yeah, it's just like, it's not so easy to just like go talk to the neighbor.
Because a lot of things are rising after that. People are afraid to being sued. People are afraid to, it's just something happened, like in a relationship, and they're too busy
It is
watching.
the busyness.
Yes, and they don't have time for each other. God. You go ahead.
I'm
No,
just
okay.
wandering.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
If you want to compare, because you said something about your kids and their generation, what is hardship for them and what that means for us. hardship in a different country because everything for us was a challenge. And most of the time, I really laugh. And sometimes Marzi is giving me a hard time with, like, you know, she thinks that I shouldn't even mention it because that's not hardship when you talk about it.
It
in
is
my
their
mind.
hardship, though, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, it is their hardship.
It is.
Yeah. And I appreciate when people come now, honestly, this past couple of weeks with everything on the news, I really appreciate that people are coming in and going, I'm really embarrassed to tell you about this, considering what's happening in the world.
Yes.
Because now I'm going to sound like, you know, a whiny person.
They acknowledge
But
that, but
they
at the
do
same time,
acknowledge
it's
it.
what they're struggling
but their
with at the
story
time.
is their story. This is the thing that they're going to go home to, and this is their problem. I do appreciate that, you know, you can have gratitude that your problem is seemingly insignificant considering what's happening in the world. You know, during the Ukraine war, that happened a lot, and you know, everybody would say, I'm embarrassed to be here considering what's happening. You know, but then it was really nice of them to acknowledge, to be grateful that they're not in a war zone, you know, but then they went on and their story was their story,
Yeah.
right? So the same with this generation. I wish somebody could do research and say, does something happen in the water that these young kids are just very...
I mean, I really want to do that because I'm observing.
I
that
am
every
really,
day, and
really
I'm fascinated
curious.
about-
You're
Yeah,
a teacher,
exactly.
right? Do you observe how
I
they're
do.
just less and less resilient? And I don't know, you know, we're chucking everything to COVID and staying at home, but it started happening before.
Exactly.
A little bit
That
before
just kind
then.
of intensified
And
it and kind of fast tracked it a little bit. Yeah, but that wasn't only it. And I'm honestly worried about the future of our society because if they're not resilient, what's going to happen 10, 20 years from now? And where are we going to go? Because if everyone's just going to walk away or fall apart with every single hardship, or just challenge, just simply a challenge, what's going to happen? Who's going to...
Yeah, but I mean, they're the movers and shakers too. You know, they're the ones who did the Me Too movement.
Exactly.
You know, my husband tells me, you know, they hired somebody who's in his 30s at the time, and you know, 5 o'clock came, he just got up and left. You know, it's 5 o'clock, and I was like, wow, this guy. He's like, well, I don't get paid. And that's what millennials do. And good for them. They don't get paid. Why would they work overtime? Right? But this is something that we're like, no, we work hard. So they're changing something. Maybe we're uncomfortable with the way that they're changing.
Some of them are in good ways.
Yes. What I worry about is the lack of interest in living. Is like life is just not exciting to be lived. That really worries me.
Yeah.
You know, there's the excitement about whatever issues and good for them, but on the other hand, their outlook about life and living is very negative.
And yeah, I'm honestly trying to figure out where did that come from, because a lot of the kids that I talk to every day and I deal with, they're from 14 to 17, 18. But even 17, 18, it's kind of understandable. But when a 13, 14-year-old says life is meaningless, and I'm like, what are we even doing here? And I don't want to do this anymore. That really worries me. And it's like, you only lived for 14 years, and it was 14 easy years in the United States, everything ready for you. So that's saddening, and it really... Yeah, I'm trying to figure out where is it coming from.
Yeah. After you know, there's some information about them not working hard enough to get their stuff. And so then it means nothing to them.
Exactly.
You know, DoorDash,
Yeah.
you know, you don't even watch the burger being made anymore. Or the person who's making the burger for you, or how they're sweating and having to scrub and whatnot.
Exactly.
It just comes, you had no idea where it came from.
Yeah.
And everything is so easy. You click on a button, you get mad if it hits submit. Why? I have to hit submit twice? You know, everything is so quick.
Exactly.
They just don't understand. And that's not their fault. This is the life that they walked into.
Yeah. We had to find solutions for some of our problems. We had to invent games to play. And it really opens up different parts of the brain that I feel like it's not developed in the youth now. So how can we fix it though? How can we change that?
They're
in
gonna
them?
have to, I mean, it's a mass, wave that came upon us, and we can't stop it.
No.
The internet, basically, we can't stop. It's not never gonna stop. It's actually now AI is coming up to do stuff for you. So I feel like my grandmom. Like, I guess we shall see. It's gonna be.
It is such a weird feeling because
Yeah.
we feel like we're a very different generation,
Yeah.
then but we're just a few years apart. Well, not few. I'm pretty old now, but I feel like we shouldn't feel that big of a gap. But we shall.
Yeah,
see.
well, I mean, I don't know what they're
I have
gonna
no
do,
idea
but
what's
they're gonna
happen.
do something. Yeah,
Do you think that they are thinking about to do something?
they're gonna have to, because it's gonna be in their hands, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know.
I think they don't even do anything about the media and everything that it's been post with no control of what they are posting, and people are being exposed to it every day. Like every person with any kind of mindset that they have, they create something, they post it, and they find their own niche, because there are people that they are in the same category, and they kind of make their own, like a conglomerate of, like a group, like stronger, and it become like a thing. And there are too many different ways like that they are connected, and some of them are very harmful, and it's affecting our society, unfortunately. Like, one of the things that I really don't understand, I want you to explain it to me as a therapist, that I do have problem about, like, kids that why we talk about it, why they're so angry all the time, why they are portrayed of a teenager should be an angry person. And because we were teenagers, we were not like this, we were not like, talking rude with our parents. In our media, always they show a teenager as a person that he or she or whatever, they cannot communicate with their parents or guardians or whatever, and they always have problems in these communications. And this is kind of an encouragement and model for our teenagers to, that you have to be like this.
I don't know. I mean, I think teenagers are struggling in communication because they're not having to talk as much, literally talk to other people as much. They really don't talk that much to people. They're just on their phone too much. They're texting not very well. They communicate a lot on their phones. So they've gotten out of the habit of communicating, of actually talking to people and to each other.
Yeah.
So then I feel like they just find it difficult to talk. And maybe that's where they become frustrated or angry. I think after COVID, some teachers were saying the kids didn't even know how to say things.
Yeah.
They just, like, what are you trying to say?
Yeah.
They don't know how to explain to you what they want to say, because they've been literally stuck in a room with their phones. It's just...
In one of my classes right now, which they are the group that they had 2 years of their middle school on Zoom. So basically, when I'm going over the lesson, as I'm teaching the class, it's a class of 15. I did that for the first couple of weeks, and I understood that this is not going to work. So now I'm just going to each table, sitting with 2 or 3 of them, going over the whole thing, with trying to have conversations with them, and then move on to the next one. And they cannot even digest the group setting. So you can try to communicate with them one-on-one, but I'm the only one who speaks.
They don't.
They just look at you and try to process what you're trying to tell them. And then slowly after 3 months now, they're starting to kind of open up and say things and ask questions and even just look towards my direction sometimes, because a few of them don't, you call their names and they just walk away. They don't even hear you
Wow.
calling their names. So it takes a lot of hard work to, and it's just a matter of 2 years. Or seniors, the ones that are in 12th year, totally different people. And yeah, so it's but I don't know, it's gonna be, they're gonna, just like what you were saying, they're gonna find their new way, they're gonna do things differently, but we'll see what's gonna happen. We're gonna be I feel like we're just like our parents when they get towards us. And yeah, we feel like they're like little aliens, and we don't understand them, but they're gonna run the world in a different way, and we're gonna have to follow somehow.
Yeah.
My grandma used to say to me, when is this jeans thing gonna end? Because jeans was really popular, and I would wear jeans every day. She's like, what is that jeans thing? And I'm like, we're still wearing jeans. Everything I use, okay, I remember was like, what's your problem with jeans, lady? And maybe she thought it was not a good idea to wear jeans every day, and apparently it's not a problem to wear jeans every day because we're just fine. So hopefully that will be the case.
Yeah.
Everyone's gonna find it.
No, I have lots of questions, and the subject that you are working and you are in it, it's a life, it's an everyday life, an everyday challenge for all of us. And honestly, I wish you were here every day, that we could talk to you and share with you our concern, and you will tell us what do you think as a therapist. I want to know what is next with you and your life.
Oh, that's a good question. Well, professionally, I'm starting a new certification because it could never stop. And I'm shifting my work from too much talking to not so much talking to I'm doing a certification in what's called somatic experiencing, which means understanding trauma through your body. And how trauma affects your body. And eventually there could be some, touching therapy where, trauma can move without a lot of chatter. It's a science by a scientist called Peter Levine, and I've always admired his work, and I'm really excited to be in it. And it challenges me too, because I like to talk a lot. And so it kind of takes that away from me as well, challenges me not to talk so much. So that's professionally. My work will change a lot with the end of that certification, 2 more years of that. And, with my personal family, my kids are in transition. I keep telling them that I need to be a grandma soon, and they're both bulking. But that's the next phase, is what's going to happen to my kids, and, talking about retirement for my husband and changing lifestyle a little bit, not working so much. But life is good. Travel and yeah.
You guys travel a lot. I see that.
Yeah. I mean, that's what we're here for, right? To just kind of explore. But life is good. I'm thankful. I'm grateful. I'm grateful for you too, to have me and chat with me.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, this was a good what is it called? Not reason. What's the other word? An excuse.
Yes. Yeah. Excuse
to see you again after so many years. It was great having you, and thank you for sharing your thoughts with us. Yeah. Hopefully we can chat again soon.
Oh, I want to ask you for last question too. How you can encourage us to sometimes stop from working and having some fun or travel time as well, because you too. It's like she's pointing at me. It's so hard. It seems like I become a machine that I hated it. I do travel so much, and I used to travel a lot more because of the work. But stop, take a week off, 2 weeks off.
Actually, take a break.
Take a break.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be long trips. I set my goal I think I become a better therapist if I traveled and if I took breaks. I just come back refreshed. And so just, I don't know, I think like every 6 weeks somebody should go for a long weekend trip. It doesn't have to be this exotic big thing. And maybe every 6 months you should go a little bit bigger than, take a break, take a week off. You don't have to go anywhere. But we're not designed to be machines. I don't think that we were brought to this earth to be machines. And it really isn't working. It refreshes. It gives you a different outlook. It gives you a pause. When you're on vacation, the best thing I like on vacation, because when I work, I don't feel the day. The day starts and it ends. And there's running in between. But when you're on vacation, the 12 hours, the 18 hours that you're awake, they're really, really, really slow. And I love that. That you, no matter what, you're just walking around looking at the clock going, oh, wow, it's still 11 o'clock. What do you know? And I love that. That's something that we really need to remember. And
Normally on my days off, the time goes by so fast.
because we're busier on the day off. 'Cause we have to run all our errands and
That,
socialize. Yeah. So, this is an intentional plan. This is not a random, like it's not going to happen if you don't do it. You have to do it. You have to be intentional about it.
Okay.
And make it worth it financially, emotionally, physically. Tell yourself that you work this hard so you can play hard.
That is very true. That is very true. And I don't want to finish it with this, but because we are right now, the day that we are recording, there is a war between another region very close. And a lot of grief and a lot of hard to digest and understand the situation. How people should grieve? Do they have all of the people should go through the same grief stages? Because right now it seems like a nation is going through the grief beside each person that they were very close to that. But it seems like nation is going through grief of their own, and each side is taking their own side. How should we deal with that? How do you suggest?
Yeah, I think, community, again, I'll go back to community. And in this aspect, everybody finds their own community to process this horrific, war, events, whatever you want to call it. Like in my personal life, I have a Arabic professionals community where we started texting each other. We're going to get together. We're going to process, talk about it. Everybody talk about their own trauma in their own countries and how this is triggering their own trauma when they're watching these events on TV. So I think everybody needs to find a group of people that they feel comfortable talking to about, and not just sit and do nothing and keep watching social media and TV and those horrific images without processing it with someone. But you have to find a person that would understand you and would understand where you're coming from and have empathy and compassion for you.
And that's a hard part. That's what I was just trying to get in. We don't have so much time. It's 10 minutes. We have to wrap it up. But lately, it's so hard to talk with people because everybody have their own side and their own political views, and that creates conversations or grief. It start a argument and it gets into the kind of a fight. And for the past 4, 5, 6 years, that was the challenge with a lot of friends. Honestly, lost communication of a lot of friends because the grief, even the simple conversations get into the fight. How should we deal with that?
Yeah, I mean, that's why they tell you don't talk to your friends about religion and politics. And that sounds just about right? We, when you talk about politics, it has to be a group that for a fact would
sharing the same values.
Right. Well,
Or
agree
views.
with
Yeah.
you, or at least understand where you're coming from. You know, I can talk to somebody who doesn't agree with me, but I have to understand and know that they're willing to hear me out. You know, in the past few weeks, I've had to educate people about, well, can you look at it from the other side? You know, you're only looking at it from the one side, and they were willing to listen. And if they weren't, then I wouldn't talk. And I wasn't going to impose no, you really need to listen. No. So if I said, can I educate you? Can I give you a different view from this perspective? And they were willing, and they were like, you know, some of them were like, I had no idea. Some of them were like, well, you know, but it's okay. I said what I needed to say, and I felt like I said my 2 words. But it is a very tricky situation. I personally just choose to talk about these issues with people that are very alike thinking. And I feel bad if somebody doesn't have a community to go to, you know, then it's family basically, because your family tends to be kind of on your side.
Correct.
Religion and
Yes. Politics side. Yes. Yeah. Good. It's just, I think we can wrap it up. I know we're all tired. We had a long week. It is
It's a good ending.
Yes, yeah, good ending. Really appreciate your time. We learned a lot, and we enjoyed talking to you. And I hope our listeners were and will enjoy to listen to you. And hopefully we can just have you again sometimes.
Thank you so much for having me. I really enjoyed the talk. And great job on the podcast.
Thank you so
proud
It
of
was
you.
great having you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, bye.
Bye, M&M listeners.